everybody and welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Sally. Now I am here in the Crumbs and Doilies kitchen, the headquarters, the home of the cake. It is great to be back. Now last week here, it was super hot and it was really sunny and we were like thinking, oh, we should make something beautiful and summery for the channel this week. And then the sun went away, but that's okay because maybe we can entice it back out with these Eton Mess Cupcakes, because Eton Mess is like a classic British dessert. It's the simplest thing ever. It's basically a combination of meringues, whipped cream, strawberries and raspberries. It couldn't be simpler, and we've been making this cupcake here at Crumbs and Doilies for like forever, and I kind of can't really believe that we've kind of missed this for you guys on the channel. So I am here today to show you how to do it. So we're going to start by making our strawberry sponge, and we're going to make our kind of regular cupcake recipe that I'll talk you through, and then we'll add the strawberry near the end. So through a sieve into my stand mixer, I'm going to be adding 125 grams of both self-raising flour and also caster sugar or granulated sugar. That will do as well. And then we're just going to give it a little bump with some bicarbonate of soda. So I've got a 1/4 teaspoon going in there, and that's just going to make sure that these are really lovely and fluffy. So just pass that through the sieve so we don't get any lumps in there. And now into that we're going to add some butter. So again, 125 grams of soft unsalted butter. You can see how soft it is here, super kind of spreadable. So that's going to go right on in as well. Hang on. Second. And then we're going to be adding 2 large eggs. So crack those into a separate bowl so we don't get any shell into our mixture, and we're going to drop those in too. In they go. And then we're going to start by mixing this together on a medium speed for about 20 to 30 seconds until it's all come together. And after the first kind of 20 to 30 seconds, we'll turn the mixer off, and then I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of whole milk. And then we're going to turn that back up for a further 30 seconds. So now at this stage, we like to give our mixture a little scrape around, because sometimes you get bits at the bottom of your bowl and around the paddle here that aren't fully kind of mixed through. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the kind of ins and outs of this kind of all-in-one cupcake recipe, then we did a masterclass quite a while back now with Gemma, and it's great because it shows you exactly what's going to happen if you overmix or undermix, or your butter's too soft or your butter's too hard, because it really does have an effect on how your cupcakes come out at the end. So after a quick stop and scrape, we're going to turn it back up for a final 30 seconds. And that is it. It's super quick, really easy. And now it is time to add our strawberry to it. So let me just scrape my paddle off here. Now, I would highly recommend making all of this yourself. So we're going to be using meringues later, and we're going to make them from scratch. We're going to use some raspberry sauce, which we're going to make from scratch, and we also need some strawberry sauce. Strawberry Goo is what we call it here at Crumbs. And I made this earlier. It's so simple. You just need some strawberries. You can go fresh or frozen. You want a little dash of sugar. You bring it to the boil and then drop it down, simmer it until you get this amazing, thick, jammy sauce. It's absolutely delicious, and you can buy a jam from the superstore if you want, but it's just nowhere near. It's never going to be as good as this. We also did a Tuesday tip video on how to make this in depth with Nikki, so I'll put a link to that in the description box below as well, so you can go and have a look at that. But for now, let's continue with our cupcakes. And a few weeks ago we did the raspberry ripple cake, and I showed you how we ripple that raspberry goo into the sponge, and we're going to do the same. So I'm going to start by just putting a couple of dollops of this amazing strawberry goo into my batter, and I'm going to grab my spatula and just do a couple of stirs. So you can see I didn't really mix it through properly, because what I want is these big old dollops of strawberry in our cupcakes. So we're going to scoop that right into our cupcake case, and we're just going to keep on going, and when you've kind of run out of strawberry, we'll put a little bit more in. And once you've divided your batter between your 12 cupcakes, just make sure that they look nice and even so they're all going to come out looking kind of the same. They'll be delicious whatever size they are. And then we're going to pop them in the oven. So I've got my oven preheated to 170 degrees C, which is fan assisted, and they're going to go in for 18 to 20 minutes. You want to tap them on top, and as long as they spring back and they don't sink, then they're done. If they do sink a little bit, leave them in for another minute or two. Okay, so whilst our cupcakes are baking in the oven, we can get on and make our icing. So for this, we're just going to keep it simple, and we're going to make a classic vanilla buttercream. So starting with, in my bowl here, I've got 250 grams of lovely soft unsalted butter. Again, it's got to be soft because we've got to whip this up to make it lovely and airy and fluffy so that it's not all stodgy and waxy. So I'm doing it in my stand mixer, but you can do this by hand. We're just going to put it onto a medium speed and mix it for, well, probably like 4 to 5 minutes, but I'll show you what it's going to look like because that's really what you want to go by. So let's have a little look in here. I'll just scrape some out. Now look at the colour of this butter. It doesn't really look like butter anymore, does it? It's lovely and pale, almost white in colour. So now we're going to start adding some icing sugar. So I've got 400 grams of icing sugar in here, which I have already sifted. You want to make sure you do sieve it because you can get icing sugar that's quite lumpy. So we'll put half of this in. Get a sugary face whilst we're at it. And then we're going to start on a low speed so we don't get icing sugar all up everywhere in Sam's face, in my face. And then once it's kind of combined, we'll turn the speed up to medium to high, and we're going to keep it whipping because the more we whip this, the fluffier it will be. So once that first bit of icing sugar has had a few minutes to kind of whip through, we will add the rest of it. So again, chuck it all in, start on a low speed, and then gradually turn it up and keep it whipping. So all that's left to do now is add a little bit of flavour. So we're going to start with some vanilla, and I'm going to add maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon. I don't have one by hand, so I'm just going to do it by eye. Here we go. Okay, nice. A little bit of vanilla extract, and I'm also going to put a very small pinch of salt in. And I know a lot of you might be thinking like, why didn't I just use salted butter? Because I don't want this to actually taste like salt. I just want a little bit of salt to really pull out the flavour of our butter and our vanilla. So that is why. And now we just want to get our consistency right, because sometimes this can be a bit stiff. Maybe your butter's a little bit stiff. You'll find it hard to ice cupcakes with. So just grab yourself some milk, and spoonful at a time, adding it into your bowl, mix it through until you get to the right consistency. And what you should be left with is this. Oh wow, this looks amazing. Really soft, fluffy buttercream. So this is all ready to go. The cupcakes have baked. They are just cooling down, and they look pretty awesome. So we just want to wait for them to cool, and then we can come back and decorate and eat. So if you're making your buttercream ahead of time, you just want to store it in a Tupperware container or put some cling wrap over it. You can store it for like 3 to 5 days at room temperature, so you can get well prepared for this. Right. Okay, before we get decorating, look at these cupcakes. Look at these jammy bits. That's going to be so delicious and kind of sticky as well. So adding an extra texture in here. So the first thing that we're going to do is fill our cupcakes with the rest of our strawberry goo. So I've got my apple corer here, but you can kind of use a little spoon to scoop it out, or maybe a piping nozzle would be a good tool to use. So you just want to wiggle whatever it is you're using in the middle, And what we want to do is make sure that we don't go all the way through, because we might end up cutting the paper case and then it will just pour out the other end. So we're going to cut some holes and then I'm going to put the goo into a piping bag and we'll fill them all up. So now for the buttercream, we've got our vanilla buttercream that we just made, and also we have some meringue. So we're going to crush these into the buttercream. Now I made these, it's just a classic French meringue, really easy. Now what you want to do is make sure that your bowl and all your utensils are really clean, so just give them a wipe with some vinegar or some lemon juice. And then you're going to put your egg whites into the bowl of your mixer and start it mixing on a low speed. Once you see some nice big bubbles forming, then you're going to whack the speed up to high and you're going to keep on going until it holds its shape. And now you're going to use double the quantity of egg whites for caster sugar, and you're going to add this spoonful at a time until it's completely combined, and then you're going to keep it whipping on a high speed until it is glossy and sticky. And then you want to test it by rubbing a little bit between your finger and thumb, and if you can feel no grains of sugar, it is ready. So then pop it into a piping bag, and then we're going to pipe out some little rosettes onto a baking sheet. And then you want to bake it in the oven at 90 degrees C for about 30 minutes. You want to test that these are baked by pulling one off. If it comes off of the baking paper nice and clean, then it's ready. So just turn the oven off and let them cool down inside the oven. And that is it. We have done like quite a lot of meringue recipes before. We actually did a masterclass, so I'll put a link to that below if you want to see a little bit more in depth. And of course, if you don't want to make your own, you absolutely can buy some from the supermarket. They will work just fine for this recipe. But it's always best to give these things a go. And also, we're going to crush them, so if they don't come out looking that great, then it really doesn't matter, because we literally are going to do this. Yeah. You can put as many or as few as you like. This is just going to add a real nice crunch, but also a little bit of chew. You see that in the middle here? That's the best bit of a meringue. And also, short put ones, you don't really get that bit, you just get the crisp, so I think you should make your own. Anyway, let's stir this through our buttercream. All right, so for an Eton mess, the clue's kind of in the name, it's messy. So I'm gonna add this to the cupcakes using spoons. But before I do so, I think I'm just gonna dollop a little bit more strawberry in, a little bit like we did when we did the sponge. So I'm just gonna put a few splodges into our icing, just so that we get that on top as well. So a little mix, here we go. They are looking so cute, basically like miniature Eton messes on top of a cupcake. So now we're just going to finish them off with some raspberry goo. So this is quite an important part of the Eton mess as well, and you've probably seen us making raspberry goo loads of times before. Just like the strawberry goo, you want to put some raspberries, frozen or fresh, into a saucepan, and then add some sugar, boil it up, simmer it down until you get to a lovely jammy consistency. Now with the raspberry goo, I would recommend sieving it to get rid of some of the seeds. It's not really as nice as the strawberry, where it's all kind of stringy and chunky and delicious. This one can be a little bit seedy, so get rid of all of those. And then I'm just going to pop this in a piping bag. Ooh, I knew that was going to happen. And we're just going to do a messy drizzle over the top. lastly, seeing as we've got loads of them left, I'm gonna put a few little chunks of meringue on top just to finish them off. There it is, in all its glory. It's jammy, jammy glory. Look at it, it's beautiful. Now I know exactly how these are gonna taste because like I said, we've been doing these for years at Crumbs and Doilies, but it's not gonna stop me from eating it. It's gonna go everywhere. Ready? Mmm. Mmm. It is perfect. It is tangy. You've got the real sharp tang from the Raspberry Goo, and then you've got the lovely kind of jammy Strawberry Goo in the sponge here, the smoothness of the vanilla icing, the crispy chewiness of the meringue, dreamy, totally great. Also, Nikki has just told me that we've got Eton Mess Cupcakes in C&D Soho this week, so do go and have one if you're in store, if you don't really want to make them, but give it a go, guys. It's a lot easier than you might think. And make sure you let us know how you get on over on Instagram. Use the hashtag #CupcakeJemma so we can all see them and share them. And what else? Subscribe to our channel. There's a subscribe button down here. Make sure you click the bell next to it and then you'll get a little notification every time we upload as well. And if you want to see more cupcake recipes, then make sure you give this video a thumbs up because that way we know what you guys want to see. So we'll be back next week with another recipe. I'm just gonna stand here and eat 12 Eton Mess cupcakes. Sorry guys, they're all for me.